right, well, let's go ahead and get started. And thanks again, everybody, for spending some time of your afternoon with us with the Michigan High School Esports League. Looks like some of you have mentioned there you've seen it before. You're just making sure you get all caught up to speed on everything you need to know. But thanks for coming back. And if this is your first time, hopefully we answer all the questions you might have about offering an esports program and getting started in our league at your school, whether it's this spring or even if you're just planning forward for next year. So the chat is open. If you have any ideas or anything you want to share, any comments, the Q&A is also open if you want to ask a question. We'll try and answer them along the way, but we'll also make sure we reserve some time at the end. We want to make sure you get all your questions answered before you leave. Just so you know, we will share out this slide deck and a copy of this recording. I'll get those emailed to you by tomorrow, should you have to hop off early, or if you have a prospective coach or a teammate that you want to share some of this information with that couldn't be here, we will get you everything you need to know. On the call, I have myself, Ryan Casey. I'm the director of esports for the Michigan High School Esports League. I also have Maggie, my partner in crime, is the assistant director. And then we also have our platform partner from Play Versus. We have Chris. We've been working with Chris for quite a few years now, so he is awesome. So he's going to kind of help take the lead on quite a few of these slides. But just so everybody kind of understands, the Michigan High School Esports League is actually operated by MASSP, which is the Secondary School Principals Association. We have a student side of the house through our student leadership group. So we work with kids, we work with principals, we work with educators. So we also do that just through the esports lens as well. But again, excited to have you all on the call today. Thanks again, Chris, for finding time to be with us as well. Some quick facts about MHSEL. We've been operating since 2020, so this is our 4th year. We're getting ready to enter our 8th season. We run a fall season. We run a spring season. We have many schools compete in both. Some compete in one or the other. It just depends on when the coach is available, when your student athletes are available. And we offer 10, now it's 10. We just added a 10th game this spring, 10 different games. So chances are there is something for everyone at your school. There is a game title that they want to play and they want to help represent your school and compete with. We work with an advisory board of coaches from and college directors and folks from ISDs from all over the state, and they helped us develop this mission and vision statements. Not only do we want to be able to provide a safe, competitive atmosphere for students to thrive, we also want to be able to build on certain skill sets and explore career and college opportunities, and really, at the end of the day, make them feel like they are a part of their school community and having them have a positive impact on their school culture. Because we know a lot of the kids who are going to be involved in your esports program have not been involved in any other extracurricular activities before. So to be able to have them do this through esports is really remarkable. And we see those comments from coaches, from the students themselves, from their parents, that this has really opened a lot of doors and they've really been able to watch their child thrive, which has been awesome through esports. I have a video here. I'm not going to play the whole thing, but this gives you some insight as to what occurred just recently at Oakland University back in December for our Explore Esports conference that we held, as well as our fall championship event. Again, I'm only going to play about a minute or so, and then we'll move on. So our conference featured just, educational sessions for both adults and students. Whether you are new to esports or you've been part of a program for years, we really explored college and career opportunities. We had 18 different college programs in attendance, talking with coaches, talking with kids about what it takes to be a collegiate athlete, scholarships, playing at the next level. So that was really cool to see. We had professional organizations there talking about what it's like to work in the esports industry, as well as what it would take to become a professional player. So we had different breakout sessions. They got to see a live Rocket League match between 2 college programs. So it was really well attended. You see we had over 350 people attend throughout the weekend. It's the best session right there. Somehow that guy leading the session, that was in my opinion. But it was really, really cool to see. A lot of great feedback from students, parents, with principals there, school board members, all sorts of different people. And this is the space we were at where they actually got to watch live matches, which is really cool. And that's the space we are in for our final. So we had the games blown up on the big screen. Parents got to watch their kids compete. So it was a really, really cool weekend. This fall was our largest fall to date. We had 86 schools, 465 teams. This fall, we only had 9 game titles. Again, we're going to have 10 this spring. And 6 of those 9 ended up being state leagues, meaning that only Michigan schools played other Michigan schools because we had enough participation, enough schools and teams signed up. So Mario Kart, Rocket League, Smash Brothers, Madden, Splatoon, and Overwatch. And you kind of see our little heat map there. We are slowly spreading up to the northern part of the state into the Upper Peninsula. We've seen incredible growth year to year to year. We are anticipating the spring season is going to be our largest yet. I am pretty confident we're going to be well into 100 some odd schools, probably over 500 teams, and we'll probably be approaching about 2,000 kids, I'm guessing. So really excited for that growth. But that's some basic facts about our league. I'm going to turn it over to our platform partner, Chris from Play Versus, who are really the experts. And Chris is going to be able to walk you through just kind of what does the dashboard look like? What does it take to get started with the team and get signed up? How does the schedule work? When are games played? And we'll be able to answer some questions along the way. So Chris, thanks again for being here, and go ahead and take it away.
Thanks, Ryan, and good afternoon, everyone. We have some slides here again, as Ryan had mentioned, to go through the platform and some of the things that a coach would need to know before signing up. So when you'll see here on the right-hand side, basically 7 different sections. Trust me, they're not that long, so we'll go through this pretty quickly, but we'll just do an introduction, some key dates, expectations, and other sort of resources available as well. So what is Play Versus? So Play Versus, it says here, a safe space for accredited high schools to compete in esports. We're really a platform provider for the MHSEL to be able to put on all their competitions throughout the state. And so what this really means is everything that you'll be doing for MHSEL as it regards to the actual esports competition will be on the Play Versus platform, where we do everything from scheduling to roster management to playoffs, and everything is all going to be on the Play Versus platform. So having esports, like, what does this actually mean for students? So you'll compete against other students from Michigan and around the country, depending on the game, to provide students that opportunity to develop valuable skills such as teamwork, social skills, leadership, communication, and then also, this is something that's been growing as well, get exposure for post-secondary school opportunities. So that could be, being an esports athlete at one of the number of, the 18 schools that show up to the annual conference, or other STEM-related career paths as well. So for season timelines, as Ryan had alluded to earlier, there are 2 seasons. There's a fall season and a spring season. The fall season has already culminated at the end of December at Oakland University. This upcoming spring season is going to be from February to May. So the enrollment deadline this time will go into more specifics. It's going to be middle of May. And then the championship will be at the very beginning of May. So students can play in either season depending on what their availability is. It could also be depending on what the program's availability is as well, in terms of like which teachers can be coaches and whatnot. But each season is both 2 weeks optional preseason matches, 8 weeks regular season matches, and that is with a bye week. So Play Versus platform does have the ability for you and your school to self-select a bye week where you won't be scheduled for any matches. This comes in pretty handy, especially in the spring with spring break, to make sure that your students and yourself don't have to, play during that 1 week that you have. And then approximately, 4-week postseason, where that could be the postseason matches, it could be the championships. It's going to be essentially at the end of the season on that front. Here are the available game titles. So there's 10 in total, and you'll see at the top there, it says the games start at 4 p.m. local time, so 4 p.m. Eastern with the case of MHSEL. And we spread them out across Tuesdays, Wednesdays, and Thursdays. So all Mondays and Fridays will be free for you to run practices, scrimmages, simply have days off during the week that your program has. But starting on Tuesday, there's 3 games played. There's League of Legends, which is a 5-player PC-based game. Historically, this is one of the more popular ones throughout really the United States and the world. It has the record for largest watched esports event. I think it's like 130 million worldwide. Watched the finals for the League of Legends championships a couple years ago, so very popular game. Splatoon 3 is a paint-based game. This is on the Nintendo Switch, and it's only on the Nintendo Switch, so your students would need to be able to have access to those. It's 4 players concurrently, so it's a team of 4 on your side versus a team of 4 at another school. This can be played split screen, so you could need as low as 2 switches to be able to do this. Or if you want every student to have their own switch and their own screen, that would be 4 switches within your program. Valorant, you'll see here. So this is the 10th and newest title on PlayVS platform. Valorant is one of the most popular games that your students might be interested in. It's one of the newer ones. It's very, very popular amongst this demographic. It's a 5-person first-person shooter game. That's the category it is. It's a little bit more of like a fantasy-based game as opposed to something a bit more realistic like Call of Duty or Battlefield. But again, very popular, rated T for teen amongst your current student body. On Wednesday, we have 3 different games. So the first one up is Super Smash Brothers. This has been the most popular game in Michigan here now for several seasons. It is played 1 versus 1, but 3 players on a team. So one student on your side will go against 1 student at another school. We run that at a minimum 3 times. It's the best 3 out of 5. So every student for sure has an opportunity to participate. You'll also see here NBA 2K. This is just the main basketball console game. So it's played right now on the PlayStation 4 or PlayStation 5. Coming up in the next academic year, it will be only available on the PlayStation 5. So that's something to think about there. And then that is a 1 versus 1 game. So you only need 1 student to be able to pick up that title who might be interested in that. And then there's also Overwatch 2. So Overwatch 2 is very similar to Valorant. It is 5 players. It's played on a PC. Again, very similar objectives, kind of a cartoony strategy shooter game. Also very popular amongst the current demographic. Lastly, we have Thursday. There's actually 4 games played on Thursday. So the first one up here is Rocket League. It's a 3 versus 3 game that can be played on essentially almost anything. It could be a PC, it could be a PlayStation, it could be a console like the Nintendo Switch. It's essentially car soccer. So you'll have seen in the video that Ryan had a little earlier, cars bouncing the ball around trying to get into a net. That was the game, Rocket League. Simple to understand, but hard to master. So lots of competitions surrounding that game. We also have Mario Kart 8. So this is the latest version of the Mario Kart Racing series. It's, again, very similar to Splatoon, where it's 4 players on your school's team versus 4 at another. So all play concurrently in the same races of 8 total students. So also one of the more popular games that we have here at PlayVS and at MHSEL, really accessible in terms of the type of student who might be interested in that. So very excited to have that. Madden NFL, so this is similar to NBA 2K, played on the PlayStation 4 or 5, the main NFL football game that we have there. And then this last one here is Hearthstone. So Hearthstone is a 3v3 PC or mobile-based game. It's the only mobile-based game that we have, which is it's a trading card game. So each side takes turns playing cards. So if you're familiar with let's say Magic the Gathering or something similar to that. It's very similar in that regard.
Hey, Chris, I'm going to chime in. I know you were talking a lot there, so I'll give you a break for a sec. We had a question. Julie asked, how does it work around kids who are involved maybe in sports? Do they have to pick one or the other? And I would say it kind of depends on what sport and when they play, right? I know for this might be easier with larger schools, smaller schools. You have a lot of kids who are involved in multiple extracurricular activities at once, right? And so the nice part is Unlike the sports calendar, right? These games, as Chris mentioned, play at 4 o'clock and it's always on the same day. And that runs all year long. So I know at least it has typically, like Rocket League's been on Thursdays for years now, right? So it just kind of depends on, like, in the spring, it might be a little harder because I know a lot of the matches for spring occur right after school, right? So that might be challenging. But like in the fall or winter, a lot of times volleyball or basketball isn't played till 6, 7 o'clock. Most of these games are done within an hour's time. Some games, a couple of the games are a little longer. So it just kind of depends on the schedule. We do have a lot of kids play in one season and not the other for that reason, because maybe it's a football player who can't play till spring, or it's a track athlete who can only play in the fall. But at least our schedule here, and it's set. Mondays are typically a scrimmage or a practice day, depending on the program. So are Fridays, or they might have Friday off. Some schools, if it's a smaller program and let's say they only have, let's say a Rocket League and a Mario Kart team, right? The only day they compete then is on Thursday. So they'll probably still have a practice day, but that practice day could be Monday, Tuesday, or Wednesday. So it just kind of depends on the student, and the game they're playing, and then the rest of their calendar. So one other question here says, are the weekly meetup practices for students on the team or actual meets where their score is counted? So the practice is literally practice. A lot of times they hold Monday as that day, or a scrimmage, whether you want to scrimmage another team in Michigan or somebody outside of Michigan, or you just want to do it as just within your own group. Otherwise, they would have their match set. So when they play out Rocket League on Thursday, that is against another school, and that is for, your points or your score or your record, which will get updated weekly and determine who you play next. So hopefully that answered that question. Oh, I think I am froze. Oh, I think I might be freezing a little bit. So hopefully I answered that question.
Ryan, we heard.
Okay.
I think your screen froze, but you're still talking, so I think we're all good on that front.
All right, then I'll let you move on to the next one.
Okay. Here's some quick stats from PlayVersus. So PlayVersus does operate in all 50 states in the US and most of the provinces in Canada. But some quick stats about us. So 16,000 schools on the platform, completed 117,000 matches since 2019 when we started, 200 plus schools crowned champions. Ryan had mentioned this earlier about kids who essentially don't do much else or have historically not done many after-school activities at the school. But according to a player survey, 45% of students said this was their first sport or activity, so essentially first extracurricular activity at school. So a great way to involve students who historically have not been involved in school. So there's 603,000 total PlayVersus users since 2019. And then PlayVersus also has a pretty robust customer service channel where you can speak to somebody on game day if you have any sort of issues. The response time for first basically responding to your contact is less than 5 minutes. So if you ever have any issues, match disputes, anything like that, PlayVersus will get back to you very, very quickly. PlayVersus also has a partnership with Special Olympics. So we have it labeled here as PlayVersus Unified League, but it's PlayVersus and Special Olympics Unified League to be able to host leagues specifically for this type of students. So we do offer 2 games for them. It's Mario Kart and Rocket League. So the matches and match times are all run exactly the same. It's just for leagues that have, in schools that have unified sports. Would have the opportunity to play unified esports through PlayVersus as well. On to the next section. So getting started here. So this is going to be exactly like some of the most initial next steps if you're brand new to esports and PlayVersus and MHSEL. But the first step is going to be simply to sign up for an account. And you can see the link right there. It's also just playversus.com. It'll be one of the first links that you see there as well. But you simply just make an account with the PlayVersus, and we take everything from there. We will help you out. We have different types of people that you can reach out to. We have times to set up a consultation, which could be either 15 minutes or 30 minutes, depending on how much time you think you need to help you get started. This PDF will also have a interest survey if you would like to fill that out. it says click here for the player interest survey as well. So we have lots of different materials that we can give in order to make sure that setting up your program is as easy as possible, especially if you're brand new to esports and brand new to coaching. Here on the next slide, so here's some simple steps for creating a new team. So again, so it's log into PlayVersus once you do create that account. And then on your dashboard, you'll see a sign that says create a team here. You're going to choose which title that is. Once you have created that team and once you have enrolled in the season, you can add players to essentially the roster of that team. You can also add substitutes for that roster. So let's say you have 4 or 5 players who want to play Smash, and that's not quite enough for 2 teams because it is 3 players per team. You can add 2 to a feature we just called the bench, and you can rotate people in and out on game day or week by week, kind of up to you of how you see fit. So every single game will have that feature where in case somebody can't make it, we can rotate people in as well. Here are just some screen grabs of completing your enrollment. So you'll see manage enrollments in the school years on the left-hand side. On the right-hand side, we do have like notifications for different types of things there. And so again, these are just kind of screen grabs of the platform. We have some more on the next slide as well. When it comes to coach expectations, there's a few things that we're going to ask for coaches to be responsible for to make sure that this runs smoothly for their program. So the first one is IT. So PlayVersus has lots of different articles and people who can help with your IT department to make sure that the games that you and your students are going to be playing for that particular season have access to the internet. So by default, most schools will block access to certain types of games. And so we have different types of materials for you to go to the IT department to make sure that you can successfully play the games at the right time on the right days. We also have important articles such as the PlayVersus Rulebook and Game Day Protocol, which are, again, going to be actually linked in this presentation on a couple different slides from now. But basically every single game title, there's a whole rule book and game day protocols for if you have any sort of questions with the rules. And then as well, again, the channel in case there's any questions with our chat help as well.
I'm going to chime in here, Chris. Can you guys
Sure.
see me? Is my video working better now? Hopefully. All right. Sorry about that. It's really important too to loop in your IT folks on this and really make them part of the team because they can really help or hinder getting this off the ground and running. If you have your own IT group right at your own local district, that you're set up pretty well because they can control the filter. If you have that ran through your local ISD or RESA, that adds just additional channels that you have to walk through in order to get some of these things lifted or ports open. There's a lot of ways. Obviously, it can be done because we have a ton of schools doing it, but you're going to kind of rock their world a little bit because they spend a lot of their day shutting this stuff down from 8 or 7:30 to 3:30, and now you're asking them to open it up, right? And so bring them some coffee, bring them some cookies, explain to them what you're trying to do. As Chris mentioned, there's documents on playversus.com as well as MHSEL.org that has all the network and IT specs spelled out for each game. I know Nintendo switches on some of the games. There's a couple extra steps. We do have schools, just where they allow students to bring in their device from home, especially a console like a PS4 or a Switch. So obviously those things you're going to want to have your IT department part of this conversation to help those kids get those devices connected so they can play. And that's also why the preseason is so important as well, because you want to make sure you can work through all those tech issues and bugs. You would hate to have to take a forfeit during the regular season and actually take a loss, that bums the kids out because they couldn't get it connected. We do have a rule like even if you end up doing really well, but if you end up having to forfeit 2 or more times, you automatically can't make the playoffs. So it's really important, again, to get your IT folks involved, participate in the preseason so you can get this all up and running. Kind of a question here, how long will games usually run so we make sure our network access remains open? That'll kind of be listed, I think, in each rule book. I know Mario Kart and Valorant and Overwatch tend to be in League of Legends. Those 4 sometimes can take up to a good hour and a half to 2 hours. I'd say you'd want to plan till maybe closer to 6 o'clock for those. The other games are done. I think most of the other games will be done by 5. Would you agree with that, Chris?
Yeah, that's correct. I mean, if you're going to be asking for a specific request to keep the lines open, I would say 2 hours is a great
Oh,
time
yes,
slot.
just play it safe in case you get started late. Another team might say, "Hey, we're running 15 minutes late today. Can we get started at 4:15?" I would say go to 6 o'clock just to play it safe. All right, thanks, Chris.
Um, so for scheduling, so Play Versus actually runs all the scheduling on our end. What we do
Oh,
have is
your voice cut out a little bit there, Chris. It seems echoey or something.
oh,
There you go. There you go. You're
okay.
good.
I think it's just my internet. I don't know what what's going on, but for scheduling, so PlayVersus runs all the scheduling. There's basically two different types of scheduling. One is called the match queue. So basically, when everybody first starts out in the first week of the season, you show up at 4 o'clock and you get your opponent at 4 o'clock that day. So long as that your program continues to complete matches on the dates that you're assigned, you will get an opponent essentially 5 days prior to the next scheduled match. So let's say you completed a match on Tuesday, and your next match is obviously next Tuesday. You'll get it at Thursday, the week prior, so that you know who you're playing and do a little scouting if you want. If you do have to take that forfeit, like Ryan had mentioned, you're going to remain in the match queue where simply you show up at the right time and you'll get an opponent. We do this feature to cut down on scenarios where your team shows up and is ready to play, but no one else is ready to play you. So right now, Play Versus has around a 95% match completion rate for those teams who do show up on time. That's kind of our scheduling way to make sure that the teams that want to play and are ready to play do have an opponent that day. Rosters and subs. So another expectation from coaches is just to make sure that your rosters are up to date. So you'll see here as the example, it's called Purple Table, but it's 3 players on a team. We want to make sure that as the coach that you have the correct 3 players who will be playing that day. You'll see tabs at the top as well. It says benches and coaches. Benches would just be additional players that you can swap in and out. And then coaches would be the point of contact for that specific team. So if your program has more than one coach, you can assign them different teams to be responsible for. And if there's any sort of questions or, other coaches need to reach out to, they know exactly who that would be. On to the next one. So check-in time. So we have a check-in feature that's actually open 24 hours prior, but we do ask that 1 hour prior to the match that you check your team in. This is simply indicating to your opponent that yes, you will be there, and yes, you have everything ready to go. We also have the ability for coach chat directly within the Play Versus product. So you don't have to scrounge for their phone number to text them or go on Discord. Everything can be handled in the Play Versus product where you can communicate with the other coach directly before your match as well. And then for if we could just go back one time, so you'll see attendance, so coaches being there in person with their teams, and then again the match chat lobby is a screen grab at the bottom left-hand corner where you can speak to the other coaches and make it easy. So again, so the communication really is the match chat lobby there. And then the last thing for the coach expectations is the match results. So the right now is basically the winning coach enter in the results of the match. So let's say you're playing Smash Brothers and you won, the best of 5, 3-2. You would simply put in who won, which match, and then the system will put that in so that your next opponent will see exactly who won what, and then vice versa, so that there is some scouting ways to kind of see the opponents, what they play and whatnot. So something that's very helpful for programs to know exactly what to expect for the next match. And then if we go to the next slide. This is a video. We're not going to play it, but basically there is a video on how to get everything set up. So we'll skip over that. So right now, the spring 24 key dates. So the registration is closed February 16th. That's a Friday. Less than 1 month from now. It's looks like it looks like Maggie left. I'm sure she's on her way back. But basically, the very first key date that you need to know is that registration deadline for the spring season. It's going to be Friday, February 16th at midnight Eastern. And so before that, you'll see that the 2 weeks preseason are the 2 weeks preceding that registration deadline from February 5th to the 16th. The regular season would be the following Monday, so the 19th up until April 12th, which would be the Friday, and then the playoffs run between April 15th and April 26th. With a to be determined in-person state championship, MHSCL is working very hard to find the correct venue for that, but it would be after the 26th as of right now. So the last thing here, this slide used to say key dates and pricing. Happy to announce that it is now just key dates because Play Versus and MHSCL is free to compete. So when we say free on our end, it is essentially free. If you could have one team playing, like one player playing Madden, or you could have 100 kids playing 20 different games or 20 different teams, regardless of how large or small your program it is completely free to compete with Play Versus. So something that we're super excited about. This is the first season that we will have it free. Basically, spring 24 is the first season that'll be free. So super excited about that and providing this opportunity to more schools and students who may not have been able to afford it in the past.
And that'll hopefully allow you guys, a little more allowance, if you will, to be able to get more equipment or upgrade equipment. You can do this as low resource or high resource as you want, right? You can let kids bring in devices from home. If you haven't gotten rid of your media centers or your computer labs, I know we kind of been going to a one-to-one device thing, but if you haven't gotten rid of those, a lot of those machines will still work. Maybe they need a $50 upgrade for RAM, or maybe $100 to upgrade the graphics card or something. So you can redesign spaces and get gaming chairs rolled in and put LED lights up, or you can, use a science lab and have a laptop cart, not a Chromebook cart, by the way, but a laptop cart that can handle it. So you can really go anywhere. And so maybe we always encourage schools to try and support your coaches that are going to be spending multiple nights a week after school working with a group of kids. If you can find a stipend for them or something. So hopefully this has been we're just so excited that Play Versus was able to make that happen, and we appreciate it. And so I think it's going to mean big things for us this spring, obviously.
So here's some key information regarding any sort of questions. So returning schools, new schools, and just general support. So these would be the point of contacts that we would have for you if you have any sorts of questions. You can also reach out to me, Chris Stoplack at playversus.com. I know Ryan and Maggie are always there also in case there's any sort of questions. So there's a lot of resources that are here to help you. So if you're brand new to esports, it's not that daunting with so much support behind your back to be able to make sure that this does go on for your school. And so the next couple of slides are really just going to go over some resources so that when we do send this presentation out, you can simply click on the logo. So Maggie, if you go to the next slide. So so basically hardware and network specifications, support teams, navigating the platform, the smart scheduler, which I very briefly went over, are all going to be sorts of helpful information on our Play Versus Help Center. And then the next two slides as well are simply just, this is just a continuation of that, but basically, how to scrimmage, how, parents guides, stuff like that. Game day and rule books for all 10 titles. You can simply click on the logo when you do receive the PowerPoint presentation. And then as well, that's it for, I believe, the Play Versus slides. Yes, so we'll kick it back to Ryan and Maggie for them to talk a little bit more about specifics with the MHSEL.
Awesome. Thanks, Chris. So, obviously the heart and soul of what we do is putting on this competitive season. This league is focused on, the games and the matches and playoffs and championships. But I think our league is unique because of some of the extras that we are able to offer. Maggie and I are here really full time. This is what we kind of do besides other responsibilities. And so you do have somebody that's dedicated that can help give you your resources, answer questions, plan special events, which makes our league unique. We'll skip this video, but that is one of our great coaches, Chris White from Novi High School, has an awesome program. They've been champions in multiple games. He sits on our advisory board. He's a great person that would love to share his knowledge. If you have questions about practices and matches and things like that. We put on a lot of special events throughout the year, a lot of things in person to give kids the opportunity to go to different college campuses, to meet other players from other teams. It's really funny because a lot of the kids know each other based on like their online, handle or gamer tag, but they've never met these kids in person before. And so when you get them in the same room and watch them interact, it's really exciting. So we've done things with Fair State, who has a brand new building with an entire level dedicated to esports and esports production. And so we ran a shoutcaster competition, which is the play-by-play color commentary of video games. And we awarded a $500 scholarship to a student from Taylor High School this last year. We had a Smash Brothers tournament there as well. A lot of different West Side schools attended that. Next slide, Maggie. Yeah, this actually kind of went viral, this video here. We had Detroit Catholic Central take on Dakota High School in Rocket League. They did this as part of their pep assembly during the school day at the end of the day. This ended up getting I don't know what it is not Snapchat, on TikTok, excuse me. It was on TikTok. It was reposted by Sports Center and Rocket League, the game itself, and others. This ended up having over 1 million views on TikTok, by the way. And so it's a really cool video you should check out. So I showed it to I used to be a former high school principal, and so I sent the video to all my principal friends and be like, hey, I know the tug of war is cool, but kids are ready for something else. They were so into watching these two schools compete on Rocket League for their pep assembly. So if you get a chance, check the video out later. Next slide. Again, there's some photos from our esports conference. We had a keynote speaker that came in and talked about his unique career from being a traditional college athlete for baseball and then being a professional Fortnite player and some of the similarities and differences. So that was really cool. Next slide, Maggie. There's some photos from our championships at Oakland. We had a school come all the way down from the UP. Marquette was one of our semifinalists, and they had such a blast. They decorated their car just like the baseball team does or softball team does, right? Traveling for their championships. They had parents come with them. It was really, really, really awesome to see. And if you can ever watch this in person, that you'll get it. Like, it'll click why kids love this and why schools support this. Other things coming up this year yet, we're going to do some tournaments with the Pistons GT. The Detroit Pistons have their own professional NBA 2K esports team, believe it or not. We have a Smash tournament planned at Divine Child. We're working on something with the Grand Rapids Griffins and Grand Valley State University. We're still working on our location for our spring championships. If you end up joining us, we are going to do a new coaches webinar on Monday, February 5th with one of our super coaches from Divine Child High School. He's going to walk you through all the tips and tricks that you're going to want to think about or work through, how you can do tryouts, how you want to maybe divide up the talent amongst your teams. What does game day look like? How do you run a practice? All that good stuff and more. We try to run some educational sessions throughout the year. We have an intern that works with us from different colleges each season, and they're a great wealth of knowledge because they are usually actively doing this stuff as a collegiate athlete. So I'm excited to have all those things in the works this spring once again. We even have a free class through Michigan Virtual. For those of you who are always looking for some sketchies, it's a free 2-sketchy course. A lot of the information we talked about on this webinar is included, plus some other career and college focused items in that class. We do offer a middle level program. It's run a little differently than how we offer the high school, but if you think you might have some middle school folks interested, you can contact our colleague, Nina at MASSP.com, and she will explain how the middle level version of this works. Otherwise, that's kind of a quote we like to end on, esports, that no matter the results, when students compete, school culture wins. We tell people all the time, you can treat our esports athletes just like your traditional athletes. Hold them to high standards. They have to be in school. They can't be absent. They can't be sent to the principal's office. They have to pass grades. Hold them to that high standard, and they will absolutely meet it because they're going to want to, because they are passionate about being able to compete with esports. So I'm going to just check the chat here. It looks like, do you have any idea when you'll know where the tournament will be head this year? Transportation early. Not yet. My goal is to get that figured out in the next 2 weeks. The goal is to have that identified before the season starts, Julie. So I have some different irons in the fire, so to speak. We just got to finalize some details. End of April. It'll either be on April 20th or the 27th. It'll be one of those Saturdays will be our in-person semifinals or championships. We typically reserve that to our top 3 or top 4 most popular games. So it's usually always Smash and Rocket League. I can almost guarantee will be 2 of the 3 or 4. It's just a matter of what are the other 2 games. But as soon as we get that, we will get that to you so you guys can plan. So, yep, great question. Great question. There is my information. There's Maggie's information. We all the time set up Zooms and Google Meets to meet with prospective coaches, to meet with school board members, to meet with your admin team, to walk through some of this stuff more. If you have some more questions, teachers obviously make great coaches. Parent volunteers make great coaches. They don't have to be gamers to be able to be a good coach. They almost act more like an athletic director, right? Because they're going to have different games, different teams all operating throughout the week. So we just need somebody that can help provide a safe and secure spot. We can hold kids accountable for their behavior and their actions. They can relay communication and league news. They kind of can connect with the other coach, say, hey, we're good. Hey, I had a sub last minute, or hey, we need to start at 4:10 instead of 4. Is that cool? Those types of things, right? So students cannot be official coaches. You can kind of make them an honorary coach, kind of like the old ABA days, right, where the player was the coach for basketball. But they might be your team leader and help. They can run the practice, right? They can help communicate things as well. But we do need to have an adult. Sometimes we see it's an older brother or sister that plays at college or is a gamer and they're familiar with Discord and some other things, but they would have to, go through the appropriate background checks and things to be able to still support the team. So that's a great question. We just do need an actual adult that is there, just to make sure that, certain things are being met and are being appropriate. So, but like I said, they're kind of hands off. They're there just to monitor. So. Any other questions? We can hang out. That's great. We're trying to do this in 45 minutes, so we're right there. So we can hang out and answer any other questions you might have. We'll get you the slide deck and the video tomorrow. And like I said, if you need a follow-up meeting, we can do that as well. We'd love to have you join the spring. If you're not quite ready, you want to join in the fall, that's okay too. But yeah, thank you, Chris. Thanks, Maggie, for supporting today. And I will hang tight for a couple minutes for anybody who wants to stay on. Otherwise, you guys are all set and enjoy the rest of your Wednesday. All right, glad to have Rochester. So Adams has been playing. They're going to be playing this spring. So they actually have won. They're a Smash champion from last spring. So their coach, Coach Dan Carruthers, I believe, or Carruthers is how you say his name. So Julie, we can get you connected with Dan, and I'm sure he'll be very, very helpful. I know you would be rivals. And there is a rivals feature, by the way, that you can make sure you play that other school. So we'll make sure that Rochester and then Adams play each other at some point.